So we just learned about the structure of a neuron, different types. You may have heard the word nerve. What does a nerve do? A nerve. I pinched a nerve. Well, a nerve is just a cluster of axons. It's a bundle of axons that are all coming from the same place and then going to a specific site. The human body is incredibly organized. It's beautifully designed. Here's an example of a nerve wrapped in this connective tissue. So this would be a nerve. It has, a dozen, maybe 100 or so, could be more like 1,000 axons inside of it. And they're all coming from one central place, one central nucleus, and they're going to a target organ or some other place in the brain, in the central nervous system. Okay, so they have a central focus. But nerves are simply bundles of axons that carry the same function. Now, one example of a nerve is the phrenic nerve. Okay, so I know you may not know much about how you actually breathe, but under your lungs is this huge muscle called the diaphragm. And this diaphragm contracts and relaxes, And when it contracts, it opens up the thoracic cavity and changes the air pressure from inside to out. And so that air passively moves into your lungs and you breathe passively. Okay? This is not heavy breathing. This is not breathing after exercise. This is just you're sitting there not thinking about breathing, but breathing is going on. It's because your diaphragm is constantly contracting and relaxing, and it's moving air in and out of your lungs based on simple physical laws. Okay? Now, what regulates those muscles, the diaphragm? Well, it turns out there's a nucleus in the brainstem. This is a mid-sagittal slice of a rat brain, undoubtedly, rat or a mouse, but very similar to ours. In the brainstem, there's a nucleus of cells that are a breathing center. They are called the pre-Boettinger complex. There's a few of these centers. The pre-Boettinger complex is one of the first identified, right? So this is the breathing center, and it has a bunch of cells, and it sends out a bunch of its axons, all bundled together like this, called the phrenic nerve, to the diaphragm. And it is sending a regular pulse for you to contract, relax. So this breathing center is sending a regular pulse that allows you to breathe. Now, when you go to or hear people who went to a party and they got kind of goaded into chugging a bottle of booze, a half a bottle of tequila or a bottle of whiskey, and they drink half a bottle or a whole bottle, something stupid like that, and they don't throw up. Well, if they don't throw up, they will die because the alcohol shuts the breathing center down, just as opiates do. This is how people die from heroin overdoses as well. Okay, so too much of a good thing, if you will, both alcohol and opiates are central nervous system depressors. They suppress the nervous system, and what they do is they suppress this breathing center. So that poor young freshman at some college somewhere goes to his first frat party and drinks a half a bottle of Jack Daniels, and he passes out in the corner. What people don't know is he's dying because he didn't throw up. That alcohol is shutting down his breathing center, and there's no more action potentials going to his diaphragm to give that nice regular breathing. And in the morning, they'll find him dead. And unfortunately, this happens every fall semester across America. Okay, there's a handful of freshmen who are new to drinking, don't understand what it's all about. They're out of their home. They want to have a good time. And they go too far in a single event, and they die from an acute exposure to alcohol. It's also what is behind the deaths associated with our opioid crisis in the country these days. But anyway, this is an example, phrenic nerve, pre-Boettinger complex, of what a nerve actually is and the functions of nerves in the body.